Welcome to Dive In with Matt and Joe.
We're here to continue the conversation that was started with our Sunday message here at Centerpoint Church. Sometimes we dig deeper into the biblical context. Other times we're telling some stories. We are excited that you're here to take this journey with us. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe. Let's dive in.
Well, I've got to tell you, I am looking at something absolutely beautiful right now. And that is my friend and partner, Joe, sitting in his chair, back from a couple weeks of vacation. Joe, welcome home.
You must be looking in the mirror.
I called it first. Go away.
It's good to be back.
It is great to have you back. So you were gone for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't need to get an hour by hour rundown, but just like what's something that stood out from your time away that was fun for you?
Ooh, you know, seeing high school friends. So buddies who I have had as buddies since elementary school. Wow. Yeah. Got to see a couple of them in our time back in Pennsylvania. One of them in particular, he's got two boys, and they're kind of within the order of my boys. So to watch them all play together it was just really special.
That would be.
And my buddy's got a great laugh, and he just thought my kids were hilarious.
Well, your kids are hilarious.
So yeah, that was probably out of all the things, that was probably my highlight.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah.
So what percentage of your high school friends asked you about your car?
Ooh. Okay, so the two that I hung out with did not ask me. So I, unprompted, decided to bring it up.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking about getting antique plates for it.
Are you
We still got Brittany's car from high school.
So Brittany's car from high school. This is Joe's daily driver.
Yep.
And it's this Nissan Sentra that ought to go into the Nissan Sentra museum.
Listen, it's the same car that Liam Neeson drives in the original Taken.
I noticed that when I watched the movie for the first time a few months ago.
Yep, that's my claim to fame.
Well, you should claim that.
Yep. Oh, also, growing up, probably about 1 to 2 school districts away from where Taylor Swift went to school.
Well.
So those are my two claim to fame right there.
So is it Taylor Kelsey now?
Oh, I guess. Yeah, that's right. That happened while I was away. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Here we are. Well, so anyway, I just wanted to catch up a little bit on your vacation. And I know you were thinking about the car because, you know, at some point the car's not going to make it much longer. And you're like, I just got to get to my trip home.
Yeah, right.
And so I wondered how many asked.
So here we are.
Your high school friends disappoint me. I'll let them know. So we are launching into this brand new message series, and we're going to study the second book of our Bible, the Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a phenomenal story in its own right.
It really is.
And it's been made into a movie. So
several of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Several of them. The most recent one that people seem to like is Prince of Egypt.
Mm-hmm. That's a great one.
And that's what I've heard. I haven't watched it.
What?
But
oh man.
But it sounds effective at doing what it's doing. And a lot of these movies will stop the Exodus after the Red Sea.
Oh, sure.
Because that's kind of that's the big thing.
I mean, I don't know that it would make for good film.
And after that, the rest is kind of boring.
Here's parts 2 through 29.
Yeah, wandering and whining. Stage 2.
Wilderness. I don't know. There are some really, really cool stories.
Well,
of them wandering in the wilderness.
There are, and we want to pay attention to those things.
But to your point, a lot of it just stops.
Yeah.
As soon as they exit Egypt. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I learned just a little bit here is that Exodus is actually the Greek word for that book. Mm-hmm. Exodos, the road out, is what that means in the Greek. Mm-hmm. So Exodus isn't actually Hebrew.
No.
But it's Greek.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's the road out.
The road out, which is actually really cool.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. And really fitting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about the road out, you know, I think we're going to see these things emerge throughout the series, but there's kind of 3 themes that emerge strongly throughout the road out, the book of Exodus. And one of those is this section that we think of when we think of the Exodus, which is the rescue.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
Yeah. And so there's the rescue, but also what's being shaped in this is the kind of what does God mean when he talks about salvation? There can be a way that we think about salvation, and a lot of that is born out of kind of revivalism. You know, we talk about getting saved and being saved. It often flows out of American revivalism. And so what we want to be able to do is while some of those pieces capture it wonderfully, there is this full, robust picture of what does it mean to be rescued? What is salvation? When God saves, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really rich.
And so that's one of these key themes that shows up in Exodus. You know, and of course, you know, Joe, let's talk together about this, places where we see that come online. We don't want to, no spoilers here, but as we skip, like a skipping rock across Exodus, what are some places that we see salvation, rescue?
Okay, so first you're going to have to define spoiler.
Well, we're not doing a deep dive into any one of these.
Oh,
so
okay,
kind of
okay.
we're skipping stones across the surface.
Okay.
And it's kind of a joke because everybody's got the whole thing
all right,
in front
yeah.
of them.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so when we look at Exodus, the way out, this really is the paradigm for rescue and salvation. But it's because it connects us in with God's promises. You brought this out in the message. God's promises back to Abraham that are then protected through his lineage all the way down to the descendants of Jacob, who are the Israelites. So God bringing them out of captivity for the purpose of but through this family, he's going to bring the world back to himself. Right? So
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, no. I just going with that. He's so one of those places we see rescue is he's rescued from the bondage of slavery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause I think that's tracking with what you were just saying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to give too. I'm trying to honor the spoiler alert, so I don't want to give too much away.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be through this now at this point here in chapter 1 of Exodus, this very large family, this whole nation, this group of people. This is really important because the rescue of the world hinges and falls on this people group.
Yeah.
Because of the promise that God made to Abraham. So rescuing them from this oppression, from this slavery, is of utmost importance.
Well, and you've done such a great job talking about this when we talk about like the problem. Humans were created to join God in spreading goodness, beauty, flourishing life throughout all of creation. And but instead we participate through the act of taking what we desire. We bring violence, wickedness, and death, kind of decreation through. And so we see that progression even there in Egypt from the ruler who knows not Joseph, out of his fear, takes control, deals shrewdly. And we see the oppression, and we didn't talk about this much in the message, but it's death. He's actually saying any Hebrew boys born should be put to death immediately.
Yeah.
Which makes me think of Herod. I know we're not skipping ahead in the story too far right now, but it kind of makes me think of Herod when Jesus is born too. And I think it's supposed to make us think of some of those things.
Well, it is. It is. And here in chapter 1, he's using, so it's interesting here, the New American Standard translation in verse 13 says the Egyptians used violence to compel the sons of Israel to labor.
Yeah.
Right? NIV says he worked them ruthlessly. But that violence is really important because that also links us back to earlier in the story where seeing and taking leads to violence, which leads to death.
Yeah. And so it requires a rescue.
This does require
rescuer, a savior.
Yeah, right.
Saving.
And this isn't just a this isn't just a spiritual rescue. This is also a physical rescue.
It's an everything rescue.
It's a comprehensive rescue.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything that they are. And verse 14 tells us that they used mortar and bricks. And you're like, well, what does that matter? Well, mortar and bricks is a copy paste hyperlink back to Genesis 11 with the Tower of Babel.
Tower of Babel, yeah.
Right. So here they are. It's going to be through this family that the promise is going to carry forward. But here they are in a new Babel, being coerced through violence, ground back into the ground.
Yeah. And until Babylon comes to the forefront in the story of redemptive history, Egypt becomes the Darth Vader of the story, right? So it becomes that empire which stands in opposition to God. And so the rescue comes through the Passover. We're going to read about that in literally leaving Egypt. There's in the leaving, they're getting to a place where they are now stuck between the death of the chaos waters and the death that awaits them at the hands of the empire. Right. And God rescues them and makes a way through that water. We think about the ways that God rescued them through his provision, whether it be from water from a rock, or quail, or manna.
Or here's some springs, little oases in the desert.
Little Eden hot spots.
There it is. Yep.
And so that's a part of his salvation, is leading through all the way to entering into the promised land. So it's this rescue provision. It's robust. It's comprehensive. That's a good word that you used.
You also brought this out in the message, and I think you were actually making the connection to today, how he frees us from worshiping the gods of our day. But that's another piece of this too, is he's rescuing them from the idol gods of the pantheon that Egypt worshipped.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna
without giving too much away.
You're right. No. But we're not gonna go plague by plague per se. But But there are some very clear. Even if we don't completely understand what's going on here, be rest assured that the spirit beings absolutely know what's going on.
Right. So it's
that's part of the rescue.
So it's physical. It's spiritual. It's a holistic, comprehensive rescue. Yeah. Like all these categories that we're hitting, and like you said, we're just skipping a stone here in this episode. Yeah. But this is a comprehensive and complete, full rescue of this people.
And so when we speak of salvation, the Lord's salvation, it is this comprehensive salvation. I think I in a long time in my life, I've been a Christian since I was a kid, so it's been a long time. And I grew up with this notion that is actually more about Plato than it is the Bible, where spirit good, body bad.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I mean, many of us, including me, grew up with that in faith communities too.
And so kind of having to relearn even the comprehensive nature of God's salvation. It's an integration, it's a wholeness that God does that actually stands unique in the pantheon of world religions, if you will. Yeah,
both ancient and in many ways modern too.
Yeah. And so anyway, I don't want to get too deep down that road, but that plays out. Like the story of Exodus is our story.
Correct. Yeah, this becomes the paradigm. So the Old Testament paradigm is the Exodus.
Yeah,
and then Jesus is going to pick. We'll get there, but Jesus is going to pick up on all of that, and he's going to say this is a new Exodus, and then the cross and the resurrection and the ascension become the new paradigm. But really, it's just building off of the Exodus.
Yeah, and so there's got to be this rescue. And I like the saying. Again, I thought it was N.T. Wright that said it, but it's actually N.T. Wright does a riff off of the saying. That is, it took a day to get Israelites out of Egypt, but it took 40 years to get Egypt out of the Israelites. And so I don't actually know who said it, but it's really captivating for me. So we're rescued. The rescue happens and continues to happen, but then God is also forming a people. He's shaping them. because they've been in Egypt for 400 years. Like, you think about that. The United States hasn't been a country for 400 years. And you think about the ways that we are formed by our nation and the culture. And we got another 150 years to go.
Before we hit 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to let our imaginations do that. And so they were well integrated into Egypt.
Well, and think about that. The place in which they were integrated in that story was that they were subhuman and that they were there as commodities of empire, and empire would advance through their hard labor. Like, they had no social standing. They had there was no rights for them. There was no justice for them. They were treated as if they were subhuman.
And just crossing the Red Sea doesn't change what lives within them.
No.
And the story they tell about themselves.
That's it.
And so God has to lead them on this pathway of forming them, because as they weren't made of the stuff that God could dwell with, right? And so even the purpose of forming, God doesn't form his people to get them to be good boys and girls, to get them to behave properly. He forms them so they become a people in which he dwells and with whom he dwells. So we're going to get to the dwell in just a moment, right?
Yeah.
But these things are integrated; they're not compartmentalized.
But it's really important, because I'm thinking about the Apostle Paul will use language in the New Testament of, you've been saved, you are being saved, and you will one day be saved. You're like, well, which one is it? So then this is where, kind of sitting on this post-Reformation, which did a lot of good. There's also some challenges that it brings, but a lot of good. We use the language of, I've been justified, I am being sanctified, and one day I will be glorified, which is fine. It's a helpful way to look at it. But to your point of this formation, here in the Exodus, he saves them. He rescues them. He gives them a brand new identity. But now he's going to continue one day at a time to rescue and save them as he forms them.
He's shaping a new identity in them.
Yeah.
At the core of who they are as a people.
Right. And so this goes back to what you brought up earlier, where for us, and we're speaking in generalities here, but for us as modern day Americans who are broadly Protestant evangelicals, we come out of a rich and checkered history of Christianity in our own country. And in our setting in particular, the Great Awakenings, plural, happened up here in New England. And so there's a strong conversionist bent to our faith, which is a beautiful thing, meaning somebody needs to cross the threshold of faith. Like, they've got to walk through the door. How do they do that? Well, they receive salvation through Jesus as a free gift from him. They turn from doing life their way to receiving new life in him. But unfortunately, conversion often stops there. And it misses out on the rich history of Christianity that we have, which is, yes, that and now that you've crossed the threshold, you're on the way with Jesus. And Christianity is historically a faith of transformation. And that transformation happens in the moment where I'm given new identity in Jesus. And it's a lifelong journey of being transformed.
And yeah, and it's a grappling with what does it mean to shed the cloak of my flesh so that I can take on Christ, right? And it's this wrestling, it's this grappling. And so even when you think about, some points through the Exodus story, the preeminent point of that would have been Sinai, where God brings his people there to the base of Mount Sinai to meet with them.
And to marry them.
Yep, that's the language that's used there.
Yep.
So there's a whole thing. We're going to get into more details for that. But so this is where we receive what we call the 10 Commandments, which again isn't here's how to be good boys and girls. It's a how do we live in covenant relationship with each other, and where is their life, goodness, beauty, and flourishing.
Right. And even the preamble to the 10 Commandments, and we'll get there, but the preamble is him talking about how he rescued them.
Yeah.
He saved them. He brought them out. Now they collectively are a kingdom of priests. Therefore, 10 Commandments.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he's forming them to be that kingdom of priests that that join him in what he is doing.
Yeah, so this forming or transforming, I think is just such an important piece for us as we go through this series together. And it's important for us as a body today because Jesus is always looking to bring new life. And for those of us who have been made new in him and we have received new life, it's new life deeper and more intimately one day at a time. That's on the table before us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, Joe. And so Sinai isn't the only moment of forming.
No, in fact, he brings them in the wilderness and he says, I'm going to test you.
Yeah.
You go, what? Yeah, I'm going to test you. I'm going to see what's in your heart because I want you to see what's in your heart.
Because I want you to see what's in your heart.
Why? Because I want you to learn to trust me.
So a heart that is being formed in the people and in people is a heart that trusts. And what's being exposed is the heart that doesn't trust.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, right, because we've got to let go of the heart that doesn't trust to be able to rest in and hold firmly to the heart that does trust. And we see little glimpses of this in a whole people who's not trusting, but sometimes a handful of people who do trust. And so that's part of exposing is some do and many don't.
Yeah.
So there's going and looking at the promised land and scoping that out, and many who don't trust and a couple that do. Provision in the wilderness, the testing in the wilderness is a shaping.
Yeah, and sometimes they pass.
Yeah.
Sometimes they, in other words, passing means they trust it.
Trust it.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Many times they don't.
And they don't.
Right? Because they're so, and this is not us at all, thank goodness, right?
Thankfully.
They're so well acquainted with the way of Pharaoh, which is the way of Babylon, which is the way of seeing, taking, and eating.
And we'll even hear that sometimes as the people cry out, you brought us out here for us to die. We would, at least back in Egypt, we had meat in our pots.
Give me some of the gruel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that is part of the journey, is the forming, and God is not forming us, like I said, just to behave well, to behave rightly, but He's forming us to be a people with whom He dwells.
Right, and the places where we see the behavior as an emphasis in a command, an instruction, which is Torah. Torah is the Hebrew word for instruction. That's translated in English as law. The instruction, when it is focused on behavior, because there are some that are, that is because that is a picture of the good life in God. He is looking out for the good of his people, and he wants them to trust, to hear him, and to trust him, receive instruction from him. Like we're back in the garden all over again.
Yeah.
This is always for humanity's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about as a dad, one of my pieces that may or may not have been very successful, depending on the child, was clean your room. And so when kids are young, you just clean your room, and they just need to do that. But as they got older, my conversation switched from less from clean your room, pick that up, put that away because I said so, to because I'm training you to respect your space. Because part of being an adult is I actually engage my world productively, and I can shape my space. And part of being in a relationship with others is now I'm able to even protect others. And so it's not about did you make the bed or not. It's about do you respect your space, because something's being shaped in a heart. And what I hear you describe, Joe, with God is sometimes it can come across of just do this thing or don't do that thing. But what he's doing is he's actually shaping a heart that does something. So doing these things is one of the ways that he shapes us. Acting righteously shapes righteousness, shapes goodness within us, because that allows us to see, recognize, and be drawn to goodness and to walk in humility, which yields trust.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so he's forming us as a people who can participate with him. So we go back to Genesis 3. We've got humans that are shaped in 1 and 2, created. But the question before, through the temptation of the serpent, is will you trust or will you take? And so all the while, God is looking for people that will trust him. Stop taking. And
yeah, because taking always leads to death.
yeah.
Even if it's not an imminent, in the moment death. The way of taking always leads to death, and the way of trusting always leads to life.
Yeah. And so when God is shaping good in us, he's shaping for us an appetite to trust him, because he is the one who determines what is good. And what is good is beauty, flourishing, life, and desiring and taking produces the violence, brokenness, and death. And so God is always inviting us to participate with him in bringing goodness, beauty, and flourishing to his world that he made to flourish,
Yeah.
be beautiful,
Yeah.
and know goodness.
Yeah, so the invitation is even at a desire level for our desires to align with his desires, because that's the good life.
Because that's what is good. Good.
Yep, so this is the kind of people that he's looking to form. He's
Yeah.
looking to shape.
A people that will dwell with him. And it's interesting. I think some of it was, as I grew up, I had maybe things a little bit more binary, like God can't be with me because I'm not good. And so when he makes me good, when he makes me righteous, then God can be with me. But the picture that we see in Scripture is God is present outside of with people outside of the garden.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that simplistic binary was there for me in the faith communities that I grew up in, whether that was taught or maybe it was more on me and I inferred it, right? Or maybe both. But you're right. The story of Scripture is much more nuanced than that. And in fact, after they see, take, eat, and they're exiled from the garden, they're exiled because God doesn't want them living in that state forever.
Yeah.
That's not good. So he exiles them. And the very first thing he does is he chases after them.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole story is him. If it's hide and seek, we're the ones hiding. He's the one seeking.
And so God was present with them in Egypt. We see very evidently God led them out, and we'll see pillars of cloud and pillars of fire, God leading them. God's presence kind of standing between them and the forces of violence coming against them. We see in the tabernacle in the wilderness, the tent of meeting, where God's presence settled down in the heart of the encampment.
Right, it was right in the center of all the tribes.
Yeah. We see God's presence on Mount Sinai. In fact, the people were so afraid they didn't want a piece of that action, so they sent Moses to go get it on his own.
Yep.
And Moses glows, at least for a time.
Right, because God invited all the people up.
Yeah.
And they said, nah.
That's too scary. It's too much.
Moses with the burning bush.
The burning bush.
Yep.
God's present with that. Yep.
Yeah.
And so all along this journey, God is there, but it's also leading to the language that we see a lot is promised land. This is the land of his promise. I'm going to bring you to this place, and it's in that land that God kind of settles in their midst, and they with him.
It's like a new Eden.
It's a new Eden, exactly. Is there more you want to say about that?
No. There's a lot more that we could say about that. I'm trying to honor the staying.
Yeah.
Next to this part.
So I want to be a little bit cautious of time here, but you've brought this out really well. But one we talk about the promised land. It's often referred to as the land flowing with milk and honey, right? So that's a picture of abundance, right? So that's one of the things that brings Eden online for us. We think promised land. Are there other pieces like that?
Well, okay, so
Highlight for us.
this is outside of Exodus, so this is in Deuteronomy, and this is chapter 8, starting in verse 7. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land. And then notice how he describes the land: a land with brooks, streams, deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, a land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing, a land where the rocks are iron and you can dig copper out of the hills. That's the promised land, summed up. So here they are in Deuteronomy on the precipice of going in.
Yeah, okay.
And it's being described. And all of those categories that are listed there, it's all links back to the Garden of Eden.
And what is the Garden of Eden? It was the place where God dwelled with his creation.
Yep.
Particularly his people.
That's it. And is also the place that he invited humanity to join him in ruling the world, to take Eden and extend it into the whole world.
Yeah, yeah. And so the story is going somewhere. And while God is present clearly throughout the entire thing, it is leading to a place where he settles in and dwells with his people. Mm-hmm. And so he's rescuing a people who are trapped and enslaved. He's forming them into a people that can trust him and have an appetite for goodness in life, the way he says life is.
And a people who are really supposed to love their neighbor as themselves. In particular, they are to care especially for those on the margins of society. This Torah, the law, is replete with the focus on what the theologians call we've talked about this before, the vulnerable quartet: the poor, the widow, the orphan, and the immigrant. And this is yet another part that sets ancient Israel apart from the other nations. And it all hangs on their identity. He says, listen, you were slaves. You were outsiders. You were on the margins. So my people, marked by my name, they're going to be a people who care for those. Why? Because that's your story.
Yeah.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget it. So our stories shape us. They instill things in us. Mm-hmm. And so it is really significant that the Exodus story is at least top 3 core stories to the identity of God's people. Mm-hmm. And so it remains so. And so as we seek to understand what is God doing now and how do we participate with it, where do we fit into this? It is into the story of a God that through his presence and out of his steadfast, enduring covenant love is rescuing people, forming them as people and as a people who, with their appetite for goodness in his way, in his life, will join him, will dwell with him in ruling and reigning over all of creation, so that all creation knows that God is good, beautiful, and in him and him alone is flourishing life. That's the story we're in.
That's the story.
Their Exodus is our Exodus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Exodus becomes a miniature of the whole story.
That's right.
And it's our story.
That's right. So we are just dipping a toe in the water. So we haven't quite dived in. Is it dived in or dove in?
Oh.
Could it be either? I don't know, but I think that's a sidetrack for right now. But we're just getting going on this journey. So let's take this journey together. Let's see where it leads us. And one of the things that I know is that it actually God's intending to lead us towards freedom, towards wholeness, mm-hmm. towards flourishing, towards being a people today in whom God dwells for our good and for his glory throughout creation.